So this is my Countyline 40-ton log splitter. I thought I'd do a little video on it for those of you maybe thinking about getting one of these. I've had it for maybe a year now, and I like it. There's, you know, a thing or two maybe I don't like about it, and I'll get into that, but overall it's been a nice splitter. I'll show you some features of it, and you can see it kind of do its thing. So one thing I really like about it is this spring-loaded jack here. You can just lift it up and then set this down and just set it back down. Now it's spring-loaded now, so this right here locks it from doing anything, okay? But then when you want to load it up, snap that back, you just lift it and you can drop it back onto the ball. So I like that. That's pretty handy. It's got a decent amount of tongue weight to it. Kind of got to keep that in mind. It's fairly heavy. Some things to note about it. It has a Kohler 14 horse on it. Pretty decent sized motor. It's pretty okay on fuel, I guess. It goes through maybe a little more than I thought it would, but it doesn't take too long to split wood because it's got a pretty fast cycle time, 9.5 seconds, so it throws that cylinder out pretty quick comparatively to like a smaller splitter. It's got a pretty respectable size hydraulic tank on it, which I like. You don't need to change the fluid as often, and it keeps it cooler because it also kind of acts like a heat sink. The pump on it though, the pump is massive. I was looking at some smaller splitters like the 25 tons and even like a 20 ton, and the pumps were significantly smaller than this pump. Really, the bigger the pump you got, the higher the gallon per minute, and that really decreases your cycle times. The way that they got all this plumbed, it's pretty neat. Pretty neat and clean. Keep a manual on the side of it. This does flip up. That's not too hard to do. It's actually harder, I think, to pull it back down than it is to lift it. It does have the automatic return, spring-loaded, so it'll retract and this will pop out when it gets there. One thing I wish the manufacturers would do with these is I wish that right here the wedge here only comes back maybe about to here. I wish they would actually notch this and run the wedge into them a little bit. This way it would completely split a piece of wood no matter how stringy it is. I don't know why that's so hard to do, but I feel like that'd be a really easy thing for them to do. And one other thing, and I'm not totally sure how you would solve it just yet, but I'm sure there's something could be done, is when this comes out and you split something, a lot of bark falls back behind this piece, and it tends to build up with a lot of bark back here. And I mean, it'll completely fill it up back here full of bark and just pieces of wood, and you got to clean it out every so often. If you took care of those two things, this would be a perfect splitter. It really would be. It trails down the road nice. The 40 tons come with this rack on them, which, man, that saves your back because you're not always picking pieces off the ground. So I really like that. It goes down the road nice. It's got decent sized tires on it. It's a pretty well built machine. It's not really a commercial splitter. The frame size is decent, you know, for what it is. Really, for like a family or like multiple families, this would be perfect unit, really. But for somebody that does this all day, every day, you might look for something a little heavier duty. But, you know, for a homeowner or several homeowners, it's a perfect unit. You really can't go wrong with it. You know, and my idea when it comes to splitters is buy the heaviest tonnage you can. Heaviest tonnage and heaviest, fastest cycle time. Because how long do you want to be out here splitting wood, you know? I want to come out here, fire it up, hog through it, be done in no time. And it might cost you, what, $500 more for the next model up. And I believe the 40 ton is the biggest the Countyline makes thus far. But when it comes to splitters, just buy the biggest you can, because how often do you buy a splitter? Like once every 10 years maybe? You know, they last a long time. You can get your work done quick and you can move on to other things. And you know, I'll show you some of the wood I got here. My brother works for a tree service, so I get a lot of stuff dropped to me that is just gnarly and knotted and just heavy stuff nobody wants to mess with. You get a lot of like fence line wood, you get stuff that comes out of town. I mean, that's a decent piece. That'll take some effort to split. And a lot of other stuff like that right there, you can see it's got a bunch of knots in it. Just big hunky pieces, really. So 40 tons, it's gonna get through it one way or another. Versus, you know, a 20-ton machine, you could probably get it done, but you're gonna work that splitter hard. And it may not get through all the pieces. You might have, you know, back it up, try again, turn the piece of wood. So, biggest you can get. Nobody ever complains about having too much power. All right, so I'll turn the fuel on and give it some choke, give it a little throttle. So I wasn't paid to do a review or anything for this. This is just completely on my own. Hopefully it helps some of you guys that were maybe thinking about getting one of these. If you were, you know, kicking around the idea of a smaller one or a larger one, biggest one you can get. You won't regret it. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this helped.